Today we will look at a case that took place in New Hampshire back in 2004. 21-year-old Maura Murray was a nursing student, a former West Point cadet, and by every account a driven, disciplined young woman who rarely let anyone see her struggle. So when her car was found crashed and abandoned on a dark rural road one snowy February night, and Maura herself was simply gone, it launched one of the longest-running missing persons mysteries in American history, a case that more than 2 decades later still has no answer. Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982, in Hampshire, Massachusetts, the fourth of 5 children in a close, tight-knit Irish Catholic family. She was smart, athletic, and relentlessly ambitious, the kind of person who excelled at everything she touched, from academics to distance running. She had attended the United States Military Academy at West Point before transferring to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. On paper, Maura's life looked like it was heading somewhere good. Beneath the surface, though, the weeks before her disappearance told a very different story. Let's rewind to the days just before February 9th. On February 5th, Maura had a breakdown while working her campus security job, reportedly after a phone call with her older sister Kathleen, who was said to be struggling with alcoholism at the time. Maura became unresponsive and had to be walked back to her dorm, saying only 2 words when someone asked what was wrong. 2 days later, on February 7th, her father Fred Murray drove up to Amherst to help her shop for a new car, after Maura had been in a minor accident near West Point just days earlier while visiting him. Then came February 9th, the day everything changed. That afternoon, Maura emailed her nursing professors and her academic advisor, claiming there had been a death in the family. There hadn't been. Her family has since said nobody had died and nobody knew where that story came from. Around the same time, she withdrawn a chunk of money from her bank account, packed up personal belongings from her dorm room, and left campus in her father's black Saturn sedan, the same car he had let her borrow after her own vehicle had been damaged. That evening, phone records show Maura spoke to her boyfriend at the time, Bill Roche, for around 20 minutes starting at 7:17 p.m., followed by 2 more brief calls later that night. Somewhere in those hours, she was also driving north, away from campus, away from Amherst, and into the White Mountains of New Hampshire, roughly 2.5 hours from where she should have been. Just before 8 p.m. on a stretch of Route 112, also called Wild Amanuensis Road, in the town of Haverhill, New Hampshire, Maura's car went off the road and crashed into a snowbank. A nearby resident, Faith Westman, heard the impact and looked outside. She would later tell investigators she saw someone standing near the car, though she and her husband gave conflicting accounts of exactly what they saw, one describing what looked like a person smoking a cigarette, the other describing what he thought was a reddish glow. Faith called 911 to report the crash. Around the same time, a passing school bus driver named Butch Atwood stopped to check on the driver. He offered to call the police. Maura reportedly told him not to, insisting she already had a friend coming, and that everything was fine. Atwood left to get help anyway. By the time police arrived, only about 10 to 12 minutes later, Maura Murray was gone. Her car was locked. The windshield was cracked. There was no blood, no signs of a struggle, and no sign of the young woman who had been standing beside it just minutes earlier. Inside that car, investigators later found something strange: duplicate copies of a car accident report, apparently picked up from a police station near her school earlier that same day, along with alcohol Maura had purchased shortly before leaving campus. Her cell phone and her wallet, according to reports, were not found in the vehicle. It was as if she had planned to be somewhere, or to become someone, other than where she was supposed to be. A police dog was brought in that same night. The dog picked up Maura's scent leading away from the car, heading east along the road for roughly 100 yards, before the trail abruptly stopped, the kind of dead end that dog handlers say usually means one thing: the person got into a vehicle. By the next day, a "be on the lookout" alert had gone out. Her family back in Massachusetts had no idea any of this had happened until they realized she wasn't answering calls, and soon learned about the crash from investigators. What followed was a search effort that would stretch across seasons and years. State police, New Hampshire Fish and Game, cadaver dogs, and hundreds of volunteers combed the woods, trails, and waterways around the crash site. they found nothing. No footprints leading somewhere conclusive, no clothing, no remains, nothing that told anyone what had happened to Maura Murray after she stepped away from that car. If you're still with me, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from, because this next part is where the case gets even stranger. Investigators quickly zeroed in on the timeline of Maura's final days, trying to understand why a promising nursing student with no history of running away would suddenly empty her bank account, lie to her professors, and drive hours from campus in the middle of winter. Some pointed to the mounting stress in her life, a pending minor fraud charge after she had used a stolen credit card number to order food months earlier, family tension involving her sister's struggles, and what friends described as an intense need to appear perfect at all times, even while privately falling apart. Others focused on the man she had been dating at West Point years earlier, a cadet named Stephen Baldwin, who had represented her at a disciplinary hearing while they were both students there. Baldwin later changed his legal name and has remained a subject of public speculation for years, though no evidence has ever tied him to her disappearance, and he has denied any involvement. Then there was her boyfriend at the time, Bill Roche, the man Maura called just hours before the crash. Roche was investigated early on and has always maintained he had nothing to do with her disappearance and was nowhere near New Hampshire that night. Investigators were reportedly satisfied with his account. The crash site itself only deepened the mystery. Haverhill is a remote stretch of the White Mountains, thick forest on both sides of the road, brutally cold in February, with almost no foot traffic after dark. For Maura to have simply walked off into those woods alone, at night, in a snowstorm, and never been found despite years of searching, struck many investigators and amateur researchers alike as almost impossible. That gap, between how isolated the area was and how completely she vanished, is the single detail that has kept this case alive online for over 20 years. Theories have piled up ever since. Some believe Maura died from exposure in the woods that night, her body never recovered because of the sheer size and difficulty of the terrain. Others believe she got into a car with someone, whether a stranger, an acquaintance, or someone from her past, and that whatever happened next happened far from that road. And a smaller but persistent group has floated the idea that Maura, overwhelmed by the pressures piling up in her life, staged her own disappearance to start over somewhere new, though her family has firmly and repeatedly rejected that theory, insisting nothing about her behavior in the following weeks, including bank activity or any contact, supports it. The case caught national attention early on, featured on America's Most Wanted in hopes of generating leads. Tips poured in from across the country. None of them panned out into a confirmed sighting. New Hampshire authorities have periodically returned to the case over the years, at one point excavating a basement near the crash site after cadaver dogs reacted to the location, and following up on newly surfaced witness accounts. Each time, the search has come back empty. What has never gone quiet is Maura's family. Her father Fred Murray became a relentless and outspoken advocate for his daughter, organizing searches, pressing the media, and publicly clashing with investigators over how the case was handled in its earliest days. Her sister Julie, a West Point graduate herself, has carried that fight forward in the years since, building a foundation in Maura's name and, more recently, using platforms like TikTok to keep her sister's story in front of a new generation, still asking the same questions their family has asked since 2004, where did she go, and why has no one ever found her? If you've made it this far, hit that subscribe button, because we cover cases just like this one every single week, and I promise you the next one is just as unforgettable. More than 20 years later, Maura Murray remains classified as a missing person, not a homicide victim, because there has never been a body, and there has never been definitive proof of what happened to her that night. The New Hampshire Cold Case Unit still lists her case as open, still asking anyone with information to come forward. Her black Saturn is long gone, the crash site on Route 112 looks like any other stretch of quiet mountain road, and the woods around it have been searched more times than almost any patch of forest in the state's history. What makes Maura Murray's disappearance so difficult to let go of isn't just the mystery of where she went. It's the mystery of who she was in those final hours, a young woman who had spent her whole life being the strong one, the disciplined one, the one who didn't ask for help, quietly falling apart in ways almost no one around her noticed until it was too late to ask her what was wrong. Somewhere out there, someone may still know exactly what happened on that road in Haverhill, New Hampshire, on the night of February 9, 2004. Until they come forward, Maura Murray's family will keep waiting, keep searching, and keep asking the same question they've been asking for more than 2 decades: where is Maura? If you have any information related to this case, you're encouraged to contact the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit directly. And if this story stayed with you the way it stayed with me, let me know in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more real, deeply researched cases every week.